All right, let's go. What's good? What's good? What's good? You tune into Apartment 5B hosted by. Oh, damn. Just starting. All right. What's good? What's good? What's good? You tune in Apartment 5B hosted by your man, Q. I got my squad with me in effect today. As always, ladies first, Porsche. What's good?
How's it going?
Everything is dope, man. What's going on with you?
Oh, not a whole lot, just hanging out.
Right? No doubt. My brother Vegas from BK. What's going on, fam?
Man, why you say I don't smile, man? I always smile. What you talking about?
I'm like, Vega always look like you about to snuff somebody, man. My man Penny out of Manhattan. What's going on, Penny?
What's good, everybody? What's up, Porsche?
How's it going, Penny?
Nah, just having you back on. You already know this. Let's get right to it. Today, we are chopping it up about Sweat the Technique, Rakim's book, the dope, the good, the bad, the ugly, what we learned, our favorite Rakim songs. Everything today is going to be about Rakim. Porsche, set us off. When is the first time you heard Rakim? What was your introduction to Rakim? And when did you know, if it wasn't the first time, that this dude was the guy, gonna be the God MC?
The first time I heard Rakim, I was pretty young. I didn't really understand. I mean, again, I've talked about this before. My brother kind of was the one who gave me all the hip hop I ever listened to. So if he was listening to it, I was listening to it. And he definitely had Paid in Full. He listened to it. No, I want to say it was a couple years after it dropped because I was young at the time, but I remember hearing it, and it wasn't until a couple years later that I was like, wait a minute, Rakim is like different, and he's too dope. Just everything, and I think the thing that I remember the most about Ra is compared to all the other hip hop I was listening to at the time, he was just so much more mellow than everybody else on the mic, and that's what stuck out. So Paid in Full was my introduction, and yeah.
All right, no doubt. Babe, what about you? What was your intro to Rakim? And did you know from like the first listen, or when did you realize like, yo, this dude is ill?
The first time I heard Rakim was Eric B is president, and just because I like the beat. I said it before, and being young around that time, everybody's loving it, and it's a joint that's getting played at every party, every block party, everything. But I was just a fan of the song. It was maybe I got soul, where I was like, yo, this dude could like different from like Run DMC and Curtis Blow and the Fat Boys and other hip hop acts. I couldn't tell at the time that he was doing something new, but it felt really different. I think that was I got sold. That's when I really started to like respect him as an MC.
All right, no doubt. What about you, Penny?
It had to be Eric B's president. I mean, it had to be that, and it was on K Day. It was on the radio. And I mean, I just stopped in my tracks. I was listening to, I don't know, that day probably listening to Run DMC or LL or something like that. So hearing that, it was a little different. I mean, definitely that James Brown. But that was just what set it off. But after that, I mean, I was just a fiend for whatever he had.
Right. And I'm similar to Vegas. First time I heard Rob was My Melody, and it was bug because, we all know it's mad slow. I want to say My Melody may have like 6 verses. It really don't have no chorus, but it was just like, damn, like, you know what I mean? And reading in the book and hearing stories of how, Marley was telling them like, yo, you got to add something to it. Like you mad slow. Like it still bugs me out today that My Melody, it almost like hypnotizes you because it's so slow, but like you're listening to every word. Then like Veg said Eric B was president. I was like, yo, this dude is nice. And then just like Veg, by the time I know you guys saw, I was like, yeah, it's official. Like this dude is it. And then I want to say too, after that, then it was I Ain't No Joke. And it was like, all right, it's a wrap. Like, by that time it was like, yo, this dude is like the dopest thing in the world. And then by the time you come in with Move the Crowd, and I want to say Move the Crowd probably came out after the whole album dropped, but yeah, like I would probably say around I Know You Got Soul when I was like, yo, this dude is like 3 for 3. Like, and not 3 for 3, just like dope songs like 3 for 3, like classic. Like nobody can debate me on these 3 joints. Like, and it only got better. So that was my introduction to Rakim. So Porsche, you're the one who hit me about the book. You know what I mean? Like, yo, let's do this book. I just copped it. What was some of the dope things that you liked about this book?
Oh my God. I feel like I can talk about what I loved about this book forever. I love how it starts off, and the reason I love it is because it starts off like you're sitting there with Rakim while he's explaining it to you, like his process, his writing process, and how to MC. And I love that because I didn't know. Like, I always just think like MCs, they're just gifted like this, you know, like it just flows. They just go into a studio, they get it, they do it, they deliver, and it's brilliant. But how he explains his process and just so well, he's so good at articulating it. I love that. That was like initially what drew me in. I finished the book in 8 hours because it reads so easily and so well, much like his songs. So yeah, I mean, I love it.
All right. Anything specific that was like
yeah,
or
like anything specific that I liked about the whole book?
yeah.
Okay.
Like just anything that just was like, yo, this like really stood out for me. This is why
Yeah,
I like. I agree with you. I agree with you.
I honestly, the stories and specifically the songs that he covers, like the tracks, he includes the lyrics so you could read over the lyrics, and then he goes on to another section called notes about, and then it's like said song, and then it's like the whole process that went into that from beginning to end, and he paints the picture of like what it was like that day, who he bumped into, who he talked to, how the beat came about, what the studio session was like, how the writing was. And it's just like those were the gems for me, very easily. I mean, I was live tweeting while I was reading the book, and I was just quoting. I couldn't stop quoting this book, and then people are like, yo, I'm in a cop, like stop. And I'm like, okay, I'm sorry.
You are a multitasker like a motherfucker if you can live tweet and read it.
It's one of these books that I'm just like, God, I just want to share all the pages with everybody who's not ever going to read it, because I feel like everybody should read it. So
right, I feel you, vague. What about you? What were some of the things that really stood out, really enjoyed about the book?
For me, it's really some of the same things. His writing process, his inspiration as far as writing, his motivation as far as trying to be the best. You know, a lot of rappers will say like, I'm my own competition. But this is Rakim, so he could kind of say he's his own competition because he's the god. You know what I'm saying? So that's a high bar to try to reach anyway. But I think also what I enjoyed more than that was getting to know how supportive his family was around and his friends in his life. I really like how his parents in a number of situations where I'm reading the book and I'm expecting Rakim to like get in some serious trouble. He would get in trouble, but they would give him options. And like the one section where he doesn't go to school or whatever, his father catches him and he's like, yo, you don't want to go to school. And I'm anticipating what every parent would say, if a kid said no. And his father kind of surprised me, like, okay, take you to the school, sign you out to school, but you're gonna get a job. And it's like, oh wow, like that. But they encouraged everything he did, from playing football to playing the trumpet to his hip hop stuff. And I think that was good for him. And I guess it kind of nurtured his thought process and his talents, you know what I'm saying, especially to come from a musical family like he did. So knowing all the hip hop stuff and being an MC was dope for me. But finding out all these things about him and his life, which also feed into his MCing, was probably the bonus for me.
All right, no doubt. What about you, Kenny?
Man, piggyback on what Vague and Port said, of course. Those things were striking to me. Like what's the details about the family, the support. But I think what was most striking to me is like how deep the man goes in his artistry. You know what I'm saying? Like the method into it, the like it's kind of madness. I mean, he really goes far. Starting with a blank wall and going into the universe, like follow the leader. I mean, that was most striking to me, like how deep and how intensely dedicated the man was. I mean, and it's such a unique. So it had to be him because I mean, this is a man that not only had the talent, but I mean to get knowledge of self at like 13 and 14 and 15 years old and really push the boundaries of trying to understand things that I wasn't even thinking about at that age, man. I'm writing on walls over and over. Like, yeah, this man is trying to read about the pyramids. So yeah, the dedication and the depth of it is what was really incredible to me. I mean, all the details, of course, all the details that we never get to hear, man, because the man has, a handful of interviews, right, over all these years,
Right.
Until this book came out. It was bits and pieces that we had to put together. I mean, that I had to put together, that's for sure, because I've always been, like I said, a fiend for the microphone fiend. Anything about him, I really wanted to understand, like how do you do this? I mean, he definitely explains it in here, that's for sure.
Right. And I think that, and I'm kind of like Penny too, because Rakim doesn't give too many interviews. To me, that's why I was like so hyped for the book, because it was like, okay, boom, in one place, prayerfully, we could get everything. Echoing everything everybody else already said was about the book. And like Porsche said, just about the pieces where he kind of breaks down, like with Musical Massacre, like Porsche said, giving you the lyrics, then talking about how they were supposed to go to the Grammys that day and they had to do one more song, and just things that he would say, like, yo, I don't even know if I got one more song in me. You know what I mean? So like just something small like that kind of struck me, because I'm always intrigued by shit I can't do. So I can't rhyme. So I'm intrigued, and that's why I do that video series, The Process, when MCs or singers come through here to ask them how they do it. And it's so amazing to me that each MC and each singer has a totally different process to doing this. You know what I mean? So for Rakim to say, yo, I don't know if I got one more song in me, it made me think like, damn, this dude is just focused on his album right now. You know what I mean? He's like, yo, I think I have it done, so I'm good. Like, you know what I mean? Like, whereas another MC, I know other MCs that's like, yo, just put on the beat, kill. Let me just do what I do. Whereas in this man's head, it's like, nah, I don't have nothing else left. Like, I thought that was it. So I love that part of just him breaking down. I think he did 4 or 5 different songs and breaking down the writing process and everything else. And one of the things that's actually not in this book, but I heard in a Rakim interview years ago that I've always lived by, especially when I'm working on my scripts, is he said, whenever I get writer's block, I just go out in the world and live a little bit more. You know what I mean? And it was just like, that's so ill to me. Like, yeah, like, yo, if I got writer's block, yo, just go spend a day in the hood. You'll see. Come spend a day with me. Come spend a day in my hood in Southeast DC. Bet money you gonna leave whatever. Whenever I'm stuck on a script, I go to the most hood and I sit down and I eat lunch for like 2 hours. And every time I leave with more characters, I leave with more things I've heard. I'm ear hustling on conversations, like. And that's from Rakim. Like, I'm sure if you jump on the A train and you just ride the A train all day, you are going to come away with you're going to see some shit. You're going to see some characters. You're going to see some stuff. So like Penny was saying, just his process, because I'm always just like, what makes you so much doper than everybody else? Like, how does that happen? You know what I mean? And then, of course, I loved him going into a lot of the stuff about Paul C. Being killed and everything like that, and just some of those sessions and everything like that. Porsche, was there anything, because I feel like I'm gonna be the only person, but was there anything you didn't like about the book, or you may have wanted more from?
Honestly, I know Rakim is a man of few words. I mean, we know that because he doesn't really do interviews, and when he does do interviews, he's so to the point and doesn't really elaborate, and he's just not a talky guy like some people are. So for me, I liked it. I mean, yeah, I don't want anything more. I mean, of course I want more. Sorry. Like, obviously if Rakim was going to come out with another book, I would read it and get it. But for this book, I thought it was, for what it is, sweat the technique, and that's what we're getting throughout the pages. I think it was very, very well executed. And again, I have to say, it reads so well and so easy, and it's just, you're constantly wanting to see what's next, what's coming up next, what is he going to say next. So for me, I loved it. I don't have any complaints about it, to be honest.
All right, Veg, what about you? Any beefs with the book?
I think even though he did this to give us insight into his overall as an engine and all that good stuff, I think towards the end he was a little heavy-handed on the 5% and stuff. It started to feel like I was reading one of their books instead of it connecting back to Rakim. Like, I understand it was and this is towards the end I'm talking about, because I didn't expect any more of that once I got towards the end. And maybe it should just been placed within some of the earlier chapters, but I just kind of felt like there were times where it was getting real heavy-handed on it, and I was thinking for a moment, like, okay, we ain't get to Dre yet, so
Right.
you know, when are we gonna get past? Like, you already established your point spiritually and how it connects to who you are in your music. This is just at this point, I feel like you know, this is just extra.
Right.
I mean, I still read it. I still looked at it as it's in here because Rakim has a reason. Because, like you said, he's a man of few words, but that's because he's always calculating in what he does. Like, for example, like what y'all were talking about with his writing style. I don't know nobody that on paper puts something to signal their breaths on paper like that. Like, yeah, you may write a rhyme, but I'm not putting arrows and lines and saying how many words I could put in between these lines, and these lines represent breaths. That's extremely detailed. Right. Like, I could see how he didn't have another song in him because he don't waste his pen. You know what I'm saying? He figures, you know, when I got a song, and I've worked on it from beginning to end. So I think because as an MC and as a fan, I to, you know, hear more about that and hear more about you know, his life or his career, I should say, that there were times where I didn't expect the spirituality to continue like all the way to the end, as far as like having a chapter or whatever.
Right.
But that's minor for me. I still read it. I still dug everything that was in there.
All right, no doubt. What about you, Penny? Any beefs with the book?
Veg, you talking about the higher mathematics part?
Yeah, it's probably later. If that was like towards the end.
Yeah, it's towards the end with all the numbers and everything. Yeah, I mean, just because my attention span and things, I had a hard time reading through it, a harder time than the rest of the things, but it sucked me in at some point. But I feel you on that. You know, nothing about the book disappoints me as far as like his writing. I think, like Porsche said, I think he tells this story really, really well, man. I mean, the details are tremendous. I mean, there's so many in here that I don't know. We're not going to get to all of them. The things that didn't sit right with me are the things that happened. You know what I mean? That I didn't really know about, like the real insight into how that whole Dre thing played out.
Right.
The real insight into Eric B never fucking apologized for this shit. Yeah. That shit blew my mind, and he still was big enough of a man to do the 30-year at the Apollo. You know, I mean, this dude he's different, man. I don't. Those two things really resonate with me, like really bother me.
Right.
But they bother me in that sense. But no, I don't think I don't think he. I love how he admitted things. You know, the things about his dad, man, that must have been hard. That must have been real hard. And being you know what? I hate to do this, but when I was reading, it really felt like I could kind of draw a line, like seeing when we were following Jordan and he lost his pops, he lost this feel for basketball, all this kind of thing. He really lost the feel for rap.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until Paul C came in with the ghetto beat,
Right.
with the beat for the ghetto, with that sample. That blew my mind, man. A little bit of a parallel, but also the fact that it was Paul C to do it. So yeah, nothing bothered me other than the actual events that I just found out.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I think for me, I was just like, I was like vague. I'm like, bro, like we on like page 200, and there's only 220 pages in this book, and we ain't get to Dre yet. Like, yo, like, and I kind of felt like he kind of breezed through that. You know what I mean? And it's kind of like, I wish if you could have taken a little more time to dive into the Dre situation. And I mean, like I said, the great thing about it is I think he explained it. Maybe it only took 10 pages to explain it. Maybe I just wanted more, like the hip hop liner note junkie and me just wanted more or whatever. But I kind of felt like, Vague said, maybe if we could have fell back a little bit on the 5% and added a little bit more about the Dre breakup, the Eric B breakup, and just kind of like I wanted more of that. But again, that's just the hip hopper in me. Like, you know what I mean? There's no knock on the book, but just for my personal preference, I could have probably done a little bit more hip hop stories and a little more less family stories. I ain't saying no family stories, but for me, I think was expecting like some more hip hop stories. Like, okay, like, kind of going to, Kane, kind of going into more about when he had beef with EPMD. But again, it's his book, it's what he wanted to touch on. And I think those were just my expectations of we've heard all the rumors about Rakim all these years, about him and Kane about to go at it, about him having beef with Eric B, the cats he was rolling with, the real 50 Cent and all that. So I think just the hip hop junkie in me wanted more of that. But I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, I love the book push. Just like you said, in 2019, I probably bought 8 books, started all 8, haven't finished one. I picked this up at midnight and was probably done at 4 a.m. I just couldn't put it down. You know what I mean? So that's a salute to the book right there, because I have not been able to finish a book this entire year. So for me to just pick this up and I think it was because I'm waiting to get to the fucking Dre part. So I'm like, I'm not putting this down until I figure out what the hell happened with Aftermath. And it just so happened it's like on the next to last page of what happened at Aftermath. But that was my only beef with it. Penny, you touched on what you learned about Eric B. What is Porsche? What's the one thing that you like? I always love being able to walk away. I've always prided the podcast on. I'm gonna learn something from you all every week. There's not a week of doing this show for however many years that I can't say I didn't learn something. And I pride myself on that about Apartment 5B. What would you say is one thing that you learned that you didn't know about Rakim from this book, Porsche?
I don't know that I didn't know. I mean, I've heard a little bit about everything that was in there, except for obviously all the family stories and the things about his parents and all that kind of stuff. But what I really enjoyed learning more about was the dynamic between him and Eric B. And I love that in the book he says a lot of times in hip hop, people join and become duos because they have like a history together. Like they've either grown up together, they went to the same school in the neighborhood, like whatever. Him and Eric B really didn't have anything to sort of fall back on. So when things sort of went sideways, they went sideways. Do you know what I mean? Like, because there's no loyalty, there's no history, there's nothing really binding them together. Like, let's say, Havoc and Prodigy, for example, for anybody, Big Boy and Andre, like whoever. So that part I kind of reread because I was like, wow, like they did. Because then I'm thinking like, okay, these two who were almost strangers until they weren't, really collaborated and made like Paid in Full. And this is like a classic album that you would think, like the way they were able to execute the album, you would think that they had all these years behind them. And then when you're reading the book and it's like, well, no, we didn't have that at all. And so when things weren't good, they just weren't good, you know? That was my favorite learning that I had in the book.
All right. Veg, what about you? Did you learn anything walking away with anything new from this piece?
A lot, man. Besides the fact that, you know, compared to Rakim, other MCs are just lazy with their writing process. And that's not even knowing what everybody writing process is, but it got to be a select few that think that deeply about it. But the one thing that I really walked away with, and I kind of got spoiled in one of his interviews before the book came out, I didn't know Rakim did so much production.
Right.
Because this was like the Q-Tip revelation, when Q-Tip was saying all the beats he made on all the albums we like, and it's like, well, damn, what did Ali do? Like, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Because we knew he did production, but we didn't know he was doing basically all of it. And it seemed like it was the same thing with Rakim. Every song he was like, so I laid the beat down. I'm like, wait, you laid the beat down? You know what I'm saying? And then you going and you're writing, you know what I'm saying? And obviously, you know, it was collaboration with Marley and others. Just to know that, like, even on Paid in Full, that he just did is ridiculous, because I figured maybe Rakim might have helped with one or two, but not that much. That was the thing I walked away with, was the fact that he did a lot of production.
Let me ask you this, Vay, because you bring up a good point. It was next thing I was going to ask after this, but what the fuck did Eric B do? Like, what did Eric B do? Did Eric B do anything? I mean, I heard he was the East Coast.
I think he was the businessman.
Yeah, I guess he was, because it sounded like towards the end of the book, the business wasn't right. But I'm just like, yo, this dude never had no ill scratches. You know what I mean? Again, growing up in this era, you just assume that the DJ did the beat. You know what I mean? So like you just said with Ali, it's kind of like, okay, damn, Ali, you ain't do the beat. Like Eric B, you ain't do the beat. Nigga, what did you do? Like literally, like, what did this dude do? What's up?
You know what's funny about that? Because it's, when you think about like what Portia was saying about how they came together, because they came together at a time where it was like, if you were a rapper, you had a DJ. It was almost mandatory, rapper and DJ. And it feels like that's kind of what it was. It was like, well, somebody got to be the DJ, you know what I'm saying? But Rakim was so into the production, I don't think maybe it's on Eric B to do any DJing. You know what I'm saying? Not DJing, production. Even though he I guess he did some. But at AC, it was just a partnership where it was like, oh, well, here's the MC and here's the DJ, but I'm kind of doing everything anyway. So
in the book,
I don't know, man.
It's not like Eric B was that dope of a DJ. Like, you know, we ain't talking Jazzy Jeff or Cash Money or Miz or Tap Money, or, you know, we weren't getting no tricks. We wasn't getting no Rakim just saying, yo, Eric, get busy for about 10 minutes on the turntable. Like, this nigga ain't DJ Scratch. Like, this dude was one of the most elementary cuts that you could do at that time. You know what I mean? So, but I've always thought that. And then after reading this book, it just echoed it even more. What did Eric B do for all this love? Penny, anything? What did you walk away from this book with? What was a jewel that you got from this joint?
Like Veg said about the producing, I just did not know it was to this extent. It was, all the mentions of it, the things that he's mentioned in the interviews, just recently, but reading the book, and then the different times he say, oh, I put down this sample, or I found this here, and his involvement in that side of things was really mind-blowing. Some other small details, like Latin Quarter stories, there's a couple of other details that I didn't know, but I mean, I've been really like going after this stuff for so long, but it's so hard to find anything. And I'm probably gonna have to read this book a couple more times just to let everything sink in.
Right. My question, because we did so before, Veg, and I think you were on here when we were talking about is bringing a record to the studio production. You know what I mean? So I'm even more intrigued to really know, like, was Rakim sitting down in front of the SP actually banging out the beats, or was he saying? Because I think he broke it down in Musical Massacre. He was like, he found like the sample, and I'm wondering if he was. And again, in the 80s, this may have been looked at as production, because I think each era has a different definition for production. You know what I mean? So I'm just wondering, me being a producer, I'm wondering, was Rakim like, boom, I'm in front of the SP, let me get this on, let me chop this up? Or was it more of a, I got the record, yo, Paul, here's the record I want to use, do your magic type thing? You know what I mean? So I'm interested. I would really want to know more about that. I think the thing that I walked away with from this book was just the whole why him and Eric B broke up, and then the whole situation with Dre. Because I think the whole situation with Dre, like, it's just folklore. Like, if you get signed to Aftermath, nigga, you'll come out in 30 years. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and you kind of just assume that, but then finally hearing the story, and then the same thing with Eric B and Rakim, like, there was no, I don't remember the source of anybody ever talking about they broke up. You know what I mean? I think it was just like after Don't Sweat the Technique. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. Vague, Penny, Porsche, did y'all ever hear like, yo, it's a wrap, like we're done? I never heard that.
I did.
You heard that, Vague?
I did. Yeah, I did hear it, but I think this was like after Don't Sweat the Technique, obviously. But probably because Eric B don't really talk, and neither do Rakim. So yeah. Even if we knew that it happened, at the same time, get an interview and details, because neither of these dudes really like to talk, especially about their personal business.
Right.
And that's why we don't. That's why we don't really know much, because you got two dudes who don't talk. So.
Yo, the funny thing you say that, I gotta go back and look at some interviews, because I'm like, yo, they had to be a whack ass interview. You know what I mean? Like, Vega, I don't know about you at 889. I used to hate when people would come through and you interview them. You'd be like, yo, so I was putting the album together. They'd be like, yo, it was good. And you'd be like, do you want to give me a little bit more? Like, give me something else. Like, you had some MCs who would come in and just give you these great interviews. Then you had other MCs like, yo, so what was it like working with Paul C? Yo, it was dope. And it's like, oh, okay. Any behind the scenes stories? Nah. Like, it was like bro, man, from the fifth floor. Like I've had those interviews. So just you saying that, I'm like, damn, have I ever seen the Eric B and Rakim? They had to be on Yo MTV Raps. They had to be on Rap City. So I'm gonna have to YouTube it, because you're right. I can't see getting a really great interview out of Eric B and Rakim, because neither one of them mofos talk, nor do they smile. So it's kind of just like you don't know what you're gonna get from Eric B and Rakim. How many mics do y'all give this book? Porsche, how many mics do you give Sweat the Technique? 5 mics.
Easy. Yeah, this book, I said it while I was live tweeting too. This is like in the same category as Tao for me, the Tao of Wu, where I will just continuously read this throughout the days. Every time I want a book to read with good insight and quotables and gems, I pick up the Tao, and now this is added to it. So yes, 5 mics for me.
5 mics. Veg, what about you? What you got?
I got 4.5. Only because I wish it was a little bit longer, and like you said, I wish he would have gave the timeline of his career the same amount of depth he gave his family background and his religious beliefs or spiritual beliefs. Because I felt like, I really got to know him, but then when it came to the reason why I was even there, I felt like, he kind of gave us a little bit on certain moments, but I would have loved to hear maybe some wild stories. Maybe he didn't want to rat some people out. Who knows?
Right.
But I would have enjoyed to see what a dude like him, who's a thinker, who's on tour with all these guys, things that he saw all the time. So maybe that helped. But overall, still an excellent read.
Yeah, no doubt. I got 4 mics on it. Like Veg said, for me, I wish it was a little deeper. Me being, I wanted to hear all the backstories. And like you said, probably going into it now, talking with y'all about it, I probably went in with the wrong expectations because this is Rakim. This is somebody who really doesn't talk. So we're probably not going to get the behind the scenes beef with Big Daddy Kane and Eric, you know, with EPMD and just everything like that. Like this, that's what I wanted to hear. But still a dope book. I got saluted just for it being the first book I finished in 2019 in one day. It's been a long time since I read a book in one day. So I definitely got 4 mics on this. Penny, how many mics you giving this book, man? Penny.
I give it 4.5 for now.
All right.
I give it 4.5.
So everybody seemed to enjoy the book. Everybody's walking away happy. Porsche, give me your 3 dopest favorite Rakim songs and why.
Honestly, I think this is the problem. When with a MC like Rakim, who has so many good songs, and you like so many of them, like I could say all of, like, you know, Paid in Full, for example, or, you know, all of Don't Sweat the Technique or Follow the Leader, whatever. There's so many good tracks that he has, but I love knowing the insight and the motivation, the inspiration, the stories behind them. So for me, again, like I said, I was live tweeting. I'm like, yo, I have a deeper appreciation for these tracks that he's talking about because now I understand what went into that. So I would say Mahogany, My Melody, and The Mystery.
All right.
Yeah, and the reason for that is, especially with The Mystery and then brackets Who Is God, that one, I absolutely love the breakdown of how that song came about, the thought process. And then he shared these comments that people would make, you know, critics that would say, like, you know, you're so blasphemous saying this, and how can you bring up Jesus in this capacity? Like, don't you know what the Bible says? And he's like, yeah, this is what the Bible says. And I love that. Like, I love that he's able to make a claim. And then, I mean, I may not agree with it all fully, but I love that Rakim makes a claim and then people critique him, and then he has an answer for it. He has a reason why he did what he did. And for that reason, and Mahogany's the same. I love that he mentions the inspiration being the Diana Ross movie. I love that he really goes into detail with that. And then of course, My Melody, like, they're just classic songs. Rakim is amazing.
Right. No doubt. Veg, what about you?
For me, it's Know the Ledge, mainly because at that time, you know, I'm getting a little older, still a fan of Rakim. Did not think he could still bring it like that on a track. I mean, Know the Ledge is on the Juice soundtrack, for those who don't know. Just totally killed that record, you know what I'm saying? And when you read this book, that's one of the records that really defines, like, you know, his style of writing. You can hear it when you listen to it. What else? Next one, In the Ghetto. I like that a lot, mainly because for Rakim.
What happened?
Are you hearing the echo?
For a second, yeah, I just didn't hear what you said. You said,
are you hearing an echo?
Yeah, you were saying In the Ghetto?
Yeah. But yeah, In the Ghetto, mainly, I love the it was again another record where I didn't expect it from that time. Saying it felt right. I love his ins, you know, nobody smile. Just a real grit. I love the video. Real gritty song and record. That gave just a different looking sound style. And that song was a party record, and still never get over its time. Lyrics, like it is about like an MC anthem. You know what I'm saying? This is that. You know what I'm saying lyrically, he just saying things at a time that about. Obviously now we have rap that kind of image. Rakim was the first. You know that was all of the style culture in a way. Even though those are my.
All right, no doubt. Penny, top 3 Rakim joints.
Follow the leader, number one. To me, it's a go lyrical track. Number 2 will be My Melody. Which was the second Rakim joint I heard. Number 3, I ain't no joke. I'll rhyme it again.
Yeah, very dope joints. For me, my number 1 is Microphone Fiend. That beat to me was just, to this day, one of my favorite beats ever, easily. Like, oh God, that beat is crazy. And then just the way I was a teen before I was a fiend before I became a teen. Just Rakim is also one of the greatest things is the way he sets off his rhymes to me. You know what I'm saying? There's always that used to be an art back in the day. You know what I mean? Like the way you set a rhyme off it's almost like kicking game to a girl. Like the first thing out your mouth can't be corny. It better be something witty, something smart to keep shorty's attention. Same thing with MC. Like the way you set off this rhyme is so important. And I felt like Rakim was always great at that. Next one, I'm with Vague in the Ghetto, one of my favorite albums, one of the samples, one of my favorite records too. The remix joint too, the video version. Which was crazy to me. And then probably I Know You Got Soul, same thing. It's been a long time. I shouldn't have left you. It goes back to the way that he just sets his rhymes off and everything like that. Now tell me this. One of the things I wanted to know that we didn't get to in the book, Big Daddy Kane versus Rakim. Who do you think would have won? Whenever I talk about battles from the 80s, I look at it in 2 forms. I look at it on stage and I look at it on wax. Who do you think would win between Big Daddy Kane and Rakim on stage and on wax? Porsche, who you got?
I got Rakim on wax and Kane on stage.
Okay.
I just think because the biggest touch on it when we were talking about it earlier. Rakim's detail and the way he found his rhyming style is technical and way solid for him not to deliver.
All right, no doubt. Vague, who you got?
Mine's Rakim on record because has time to write a record. But King, that wordplay, then he's probably gonna jump over his scoop and crack on the dance floor and all of that.
Exactly.
Definitely King live.
All right, no doubt. Penny, who you got?
Probably the same. Rock record and Kane with scrap.
All right. And it's funny. I got to say Kane in person because just like Beck said, Kane is an entertainer. You know what I'm saying? Like Kane is gonna be doing some dance steps. He's gonna have some punchlines. This nigga gonna do a split in front of Rakim, probably go through his legs and pop up on the other end and say some shit, take his kufi off or something. You know what I mean? So definitely Kane on stage. And I want to say Raw on wax, but sometimes, if we talking Kane in 88 and Molly in 88, I don't know, man, because them rap for Canes and that shit would be crazy. But while I'm sitting here thinking this, I'm like, yo, would I really give it to Kane in both categories? And I don't know. I might give it to Kane in both categories. And that's no knock on Ra. I never looked at Ra as a battle MC. You know what I'm saying? Like, and so I don't think that takes away, like, same thing, like maybe somebody will beat a better basketball player in the game on one-on-one, but that doesn't mean you're a better all-around basketball player than that person who beats you one-on-one, if that makes sense. I don't know. I don't know. That would be a good one because I'm like, yo, if I take, what do y'all like, Vay? What is your hardest Rakim song? Know the Ledge?
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
All right. What about you, Porsche? Like the hardest Rakim song?
Man, I would say Microphone Fiend.
All right. What about you, Penny? Penny, favorite, the hardest Rakim joint.
Lyrics of Fury.
All right, Lyrics of Fury. I'm with Vague with the Know the Ledge joint, but then my hardest Kane joint is probably the Wrath of Kane. And that shit is I don't, if I had to put those two, like if those were the diss songs, like if Kane drops Wrath of Kane and Rakim drops, Know the Ledge, they may just X each other out. Cause to me, they just both disgusting. You know what I mean? But I'm just really was trying to think like what's each one of their hardest songs and which one would I like more? And I'm still stuck on Stupid. It may be a draw on Wax for me then. It may be a draw, but I definitely got Kane on stage.
Maybe if they're rating out, and I'm thinking out their style, and it's a battle, I could hear Rakim having more against Kane that Kane have any. What are you gonna say about Rakim?
Right, that's true.
Like you know what I'm saying? It's almost like the Nas and JD. Style has always kind of and Nas has been early. Actually, they have yeah. So when Ether came out, it was just like yeah, Jay-Z you can't really say like smart is bad. Like like even though it sounds dope, takeover earned it, and it made people like I'm trying to keep you need to learn. No. Like I Rakim but King having more narrow.
Yeah, good point. Definitely a good point. Definitely a good point on that. All right, dope show, y'all. The book, Porsche 5 mics, Penny and Vague 4.5. I'm with 4. Definitely, if y'all have not copped it, support it, grab a book, read, folk. You know what I mean? Like Chris Rock said, you want to hide your money, put it in a book, because ain't nobody got books anymore in their house. So pick it up, read it, let us know what you think about it. Vague, give them all the information, bro. Where can they get at you?
You can follow me on social media at that's Twitter, Instagram. Check out podcast. Pop now. It's available.
All right, Penny, give him everything, good brother.
Petty Butter, Twitter. That's it.
All right, no doubt. Porsche.
All
right, and you already know this with me, Kill 889, Twitter, IG. We'll make beats for food. Me and Vegas have our new album out. Keep calm. We brought friends. Check it out. It's dope. My man Yao got his new album out. You're all welcome. Extremely dope joint. My man Jamal Gasol, No Joy Without Pain, produced by myself and my brother Keystar out of Brooklyn. In fact, shout out to Jamal. He was just performing in Buffalo last night with Benny on the Plugs I Met tour. So that's a real dope look for him. And my young boy Mousse, Adolescent Tape is out. So definitely go check that out. As always, y'all, we'll check y'all next week. Looking out, y'all.
Bye.
Dope show, y'all.